even if you're not changing jobs, your job is changing. And that's the real danger here today. There's so much change, there's so much going on around us that if you're not able to present yourself as flexible, adaptable, and resilient on paper and in the workplace, you're going to have a hard time in the future. This reminds me of one of my coaching clients who got let go, unfortunately, in kind of a mass layoff situation. He's a data scientist, and he had a really hard time going out after more data scientist jobs because at the time, the entire industry was sort of being downsized. He was very specialized, and in his resume, everything was data science. And so what we did was when we took a step back and looked at all of the ways that he actually can produce value in the tech world, data science or not data science, managing people, getting projects to the end, through the goal line, we started to reframe what his value was and how he could present himself in other ways. And when we did that, he started getting consulting offers and opportunities beyond data science. And that's the idea behind having a view of yourself with a skills portfolio. So if you think about a resume, it's basically just a list of all of the different skills that you have, maybe some of your accomplishments and those types of things, but it's a very static view. A skills portfolio is a very dynamic wrapper that around your resume, around your accomplishments, that give a hiring manager or give a manager, an executive, an idea of your story and how those skills interact. So you see, the old way of building up your resume was to get all sorts of certifications and just list the different certs you have, maybe get an MBA or some other 3-letter degree that sort of enhances your resume. But what we found in the research is that just adding new skills sort of at random doesn't create a cohesive narrative. So what we need to do is we need to be able to demonstrate the skills that we have, how we enact them, and then demonstrate to ourselves how we can use that portfolio on another pathway. Maybe that's in changing a job, or maybe that's in morphing our current job role or expanding it in the company that we're at. So the difference here is, like, when I was in corporate and I was contemplating what to do next, I was very sort of lost. I had a lot of hard skills and reasons why I got hired into the role that I was at in innovation consulting. But when I was contemplating doing something different, I had a very, very hard time. I had to really go back and I had to understand what were the core drivers of my success to date. Do I want to use those in the future going forward? What other new skills do I need? And I had to create a lot of intention behind this. So Warren Buffett has this framework that he calls the circle of competence. And that is the idea of knowing what you know really, really well, knowing what you're good at very, very well, and knowing what you're not good at. And the size of that circle doesn't really matter. It's in defining the edges. And where a skills portfolio comes in is when we know those edges of and have a narrative of how we use these different skills to create value, we can then consciously choose the next skill to enhance our value or maybe expand that circle a little bit. But this is very different from somebody telling you that everybody needs to know how to work with computers, so you need to go get a coding certification. Like, that doesn't make sense through the lens of, if you were to ask yourself, am I the type of person at this point in my career that is going to really be able to code things? No. Or code things better than somebody else, right? No. So the skill that I really need is I need to be able to talk to developers in a certain way to communicate what I want done so that they can go execute it. That is a very different skill than learning what JavaScript is or Ruby on Rails or whatever the in thing is to learn. See, we can get sucked into trying to all these sexy views of what skills we should have. AI is a skill. So people go get AI certifications or digital marketing certifications. But if you're not able to utilize that skill, you're just wasting your time. So what I did is went back and I created a way to sort of map my skill set, map my advantages, map the portfolio of skills that I had available to me, um, and create a very foundational view of what those were going forward. The ability to influence people, to speak with passion, to um, make sense out of really complex ideas. My love for coaching human beings and getting the best out of them. Those were all skills that were dormant and that I wasn't recognizing as inherent to me that were valuable. So on my resume, there was a lot of growth driving, revenue optimization, all of those types of things. But when I took a step back and looked at my portfolio and how I create and the narrative of how the skills that I have interact together, I came out with a much more powerful view of how I could create more value and live more authentically in the future. So having a skills portfolio that all work together, and more importantly, the narrative around that portfolio really helps you create options and be much more dynamic in your career and able to pivot if you want to or if you're forced to, instead of being really pigeonholed into one thing. Think about it. If you just look at your resume and you have a bunch of certifications listed on there for all these hard micro skills in your specific area of expertise, you become known as that guy or that girl. And then when you go use that document somewhere else, it's really difficult for hiring managers to understand, like, number one, how you would be good at a different role. And more importantly, why are you changing? There becomes a lot of questions around that. But if you have the skills portfolio narrative, it's much easier for you to convey the how and the why behind any type of change. So what's a simple step? Let's do a thought experiment. Close your eyes and think about your job role today and exactly what you do. Now imagine that it's gone. It's completely gone. What you do across the world is completely gone. And you have to go out and get hired or create a business or do something different. What would your resume look like? If you were building a resume of your accomplishments and hard skills, soft skills that would be transferable somewhere else, what would it be? If you just start there, you begin to get to kind of the root and the foundation of your core skills. You begin to define the edges, Warren Buffett would say, of your circle of competence. And then you can really start to play with that circle and play with that foundation to pivot it, to just define a narrative of how and why this core skills portfolio that I have is directly transferable into a whole bunch of different types of work. With 92 million jobs shifting, everyone's scrambling. They're panicking to learn the latest AI tool, thinking that's the answer, but they're focused on the wrong things. The real opportunity isn't in chasing the next technical skill. It's in building a deep, valuable portfolio of human skills, what I call your unbreakable skills portfolio, that allows you to adapt, pivot, and capitalize on change instead of being crushed by it. This is about developing the resilience to handle uncertainty, the creativity to solve new problems, and the strategic thinking to see opportunities that others miss. This portfolio is what lets you design your career around your life and not the other way around. And this isn't just theory. This is the exact framework I wish I had when I was walking the streets of Seattle after being fired, trying to figure out my next move. And that's exactly why I'm hosting a free live training next Tuesday, September 16th, called How to Break Free from the Corporate Grind. On this live webinar, I'm going to give you the complete 4-step Freedom Accelerator framework. The same system that has helped over 50 professionals stop scrambling and start building self-directed businesses. I'll show you how to identify and build the specific skills in your portfolio that create real leverage so you can reclaim 20 to even 50% of your time and turn your corporate background into your greatest advantage. If you're ready to stop scrambling and start building something that can't be automated or outsourced, you need to be there. The link to register is right below this video, and I hope to see you there.